What's your opinion first off about the trade? You without me leading you down any road. What did you think of this trade?
This is the great Lakers bailout, which happens about every 10 years, just part of the economic cycle of our country here. So, every time the Lakers look like they're destined to fall out and be stuck in mediocrity for a long time, whether it's a player says they want to go there, like LeBron did and like AD did, or they're just able to pull off a coup trade like this, it always seems to happen. It's part of the beauty of life. It's a cycle of life, and this is monumental. It is okay. So the main. Obviously, Luka going to the Lakers is just incredible for the Lakers. It's great for the NBA. The Lakers will now be relevant for the next decade with him there, even if his body kind of falls apart a bit, which is what Dallas's bet very publicly seems to be. It's malpractice by the Mavs because they didn't open up Luka for bidding. There were many offers available out there. There were probably legitimately like 24 teams that would have tried to make a move for him. And there's other great young players in the league that will grow into being Anthony Davis level and also be good for a decade to come that would come with lots of draft assets and other really good young players. I mean, the first one that came to mind for me was Orlando, who has Paulo Banchero. They have Jalen Suggs, who's a really good guard. Banchero could probably be a number one, maybe, on a championship team pretty soon. Like he's already a 30-point scorer essentially when he's healthy. So there were other options out there for them to kind of put out there that they were concerned about Luka's long-term durability or even in the short term. And you bring in Anthony Davis, who's been the least durable superstar of this generation, who's turning 32. It just doesn't make sense. Like it's a really good sell until you really think about it. You're like, well, wait a second, that doesn't actually make sense.
Okay, so Jared, there is talk that Dallas approached one other team before the Lakers, and they just said no. Have you heard that?
I've not heard that.
Okay, so that's not something being widely reported.
It could be true. Everything that I heard about this was that Nico Harrison, the Mavs GM, acted in pretty extreme secrecy, and even the high-ranking members of the Mavs organization didn't even know this deal was happening until a couple days before it actually went down. And that this was probably one of the most closely held trades that has ever actually made it out into the public that I've ever heard of.
Okay, so is Dallas run by maniacs, or does the league know something about Luka that we don't know?
No, I asked, I did all of the digging into the situation I could find. There was not really a smoking gun when it came to this decision with Luka. It was just a few things of having real concerns about whether he would be durable long term, having concerns about how he was fitting into the organization's culture and the way he took care of himself and things of that nature. I had heard a few times that there was a chance he was going to not stay, not take that super max, and would walk away. The ability to do that is pretty tough in the NBA these days with the way that cap space works. So I'm not sure exactly how legit that was. But based on what Nico Harrison was saying yesterday, it seems like there was a lot of, we were worried about this Luka situation falling apart next year, and it would have kind of ruined next year, and it would have turned into this ugly bidding war, and it would have maybe gone south the way that the Jimmy Butler situation has. The difference is Jimmy Butler has been basically treasonous to his team, and that's why it's tanked the situation.
Yeah, every team
every team want Luka.
Yeah, and Doncic had never given an indication, by all accounts, that he wanted off the team or wasn't going to sign that max extension. But I want to go back to what you just said. All of those concerns that Dallas outlined to the public. If I'm Dallas, I don't care. You don't trade a guy like that in his mid-20s. So let's go back to what Fred was just talking about. There has to be something off the court. Otherwise, you don't deal a guy like this in his mid-20s.
I mean, there were a lot of concerns about the way that he takes care of himself, and it's not a surprise. He's a guy that doesn't really do workouts. He just kind of plays, and that's how he stays in shape. And he has been kind of starting to get a little bit hurt here and there. And people have brought up his finals performance as evidence to that. I would say his finals performance is more evidence to how much Dallas relied upon him and how much they just needed to diversify the way that they played so that he didn't have to take the load so much. Like he was hurt for one. He was hurt in the finals. He played through injury. Most guys at that level are kind of a little bit hurt at that point. So I'm not sure how much worse it was for Dallas than it was for, like how banged up Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown might have been at that point. But I think the concern is just, is this a guy that can carry you all the way to mid-June and still be the best player on the floor? And that seems to be a big part of the calculus for them. But I would have bet on him. Like it's still Luka. It's still Luka.
Yeah. Jared, are you expecting some kind of really blockbuster story to come out or some reporting to take place here in the next few days that will explain it and give us some kind of a definitive answer? Because that scenario about them being concerned about his health and his durability and how he takes care of himself. All right, that's fine. It's really hard to wrap your head around when you consider that he is who he is and he's only 25 years old.
And they only talk to one or two teams.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
So
is that
are you expecting something here in the next few days, week maybe, to come out on this?
Based on what I've heard so far, and I'm not in Dallas, so there's people in Dallas that could answer that question much better, but I think most of it's already kind of come out at this point. There might be one of those pieces where it's like, all right, here are the untold stories of how Luka was a disaster behind the scenes kind of thing. But, it's also kind of like, it seems a little bit cultural a lot of the time for some of these guys from Eastern Europe who it's like, you look at Jokic, it's like some of them aren't in incredible shape and they don't train in the same way, but they play a ton of basketball. They're absolute geniuses, and that's just kind of their style of play. And that's just like for some of the guys that come from that area. And some of the guys are super athletes who, probably have a 2% body fat and train nonstop. So, there's always a variety from everywhere. And that's just kind of his approach. And it's worked for Jokic and it could work for Luka as well. And if it continues to work for Luka, he's one of the most valuable players in the history of the NBA. So I'm not aware of anything at this point that would be a massive red flag that will come out. And obviously, it could. I wasn't aware of this trade happening. And everyone in the league, all the people that know what's going on in the league and are the ones that warn me ahead of time of this is what's happening, that's what's happening, they're all like, what the hell just happened?
Okay, why then would they only deal with the Lakers? Like, say that it isn't true that another team said no, or say it is. Why not open this up more and have like a bidding situation?
Well, that's why it's malpractice. Because there's no explanation for it.
Yeah, so there has to be an explanation for it. Like the guy's a general manager of you understand what I'm saying, Jared? Like, it can't be as simple as like, wow, Dallas is dumb. It can't be that simple. And that there has to be something going on that this was necessary.
There's the one thing that it's not even like a going on, it just explains the relationship here. Nico Harrison, the Mavs GM, and Rob Pelinka, the Lakers GM, they have a very long-standing relationship. Yes. Rob Pelinka used to be Kobe Bryant's agent back in the day. Nico Harrison was the guy from Nike that had the close relationship with Kobe. So they spent a lot of time together. They'd known each other for a very long time. And so I think this comes from them having that close relationship, them starting to have this conversation. But I mean, Nico Harrison claims that he brought it to Rob Pelinka and Rob Pelinka laughed at him. So, that's the weird thing about the story that doesn't really make sense to me is Harrison kind of coming out and laying the groundwork of this was my idea and everyone I told laughed at me for it, but I thought it was the right idea, that I want to go from 25-year-old Luka, who maybe will have durability issues that really take him out of the court, to Anthony Davis, a 32-year-old who's towards the end of his prime and has always had durability issues. The math doesn't add up. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And I've heard that they've worked together and they were close. And I don't just think he was doing his buddy a solid. Like something has to be going on. It will be interesting. Forget the basketball portion of it. I want to know why this happened, and I guess we will find out. All right, Jared. Thank you so much. Read Jared Weiss in The Athletic. We appreciate the time as always, sir.
Thank you, guys.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Toucher and Hardy here. For more Celtics analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.